Hi guys, Dorothy here, Professional Astrologer. You can find me on the web, nhastrologer.com. Today's forecast is for February 2018. Now we're going to start right off February 1st. We know yesterday on January 31st we had the first eclipse of the season of the year, actually. When we have full moons, you should know this. It's all about what is being illuminated for us to recognize and to see. So this eclipse matched the one 6 months ago on August 7th. So look back to then. What were you kind of finishing up? What was sort of being completed? Because this eclipse that we had on January 31st will be bringing up more of the same. So we're able to process, right? So let's get on to the overall picture for February. The first thing I'm going to address is that there are no retrograde planets yet. Ceres, of course, the big asteroid or dwarf planet is retrograde, but as far as our planets in the solar system, none are retrograde. This goes on all the way into early March. So this means we're still at full steam ahead. It means that it's not a lot of integration time right now, which is fine, because it's great to just whatever projects you have, just go with everything that seems appropriate for you. And this is what we do as a big picture for February. Now we also have Jupiter getting ready to slow down the whole month, the beginning to the end of February. Jupiter only moves 3 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, 21, 22, 23. If you know your chart or understand astrology, if you're going to look where your other fixed signs are, right? What are they? Taurus, Leo, of course the Scorpio, and Aquarius. If you have any planets around 21, 22, 23 degrees of those zodiac signs, that means Jupiter is making it's either a square, a conjunction, or an opposition aspect to your fixed planets. This can create tension and stress, but it can create enough tension and stress that we actually are motivated to do something, because a lot of people are great at procrastinating. So even though this is a month that's full steam ahead, if your nature is to wait and wait and wait till the last minute, well, the whole month of February, as Jupiter's moving and getting ready to slow down for his retrograde in early March, this is an opportunity where it's going to light a fire under our butts and help us to be motivated to do stuff. Now, some people might feel a little frustrated with this because that's not true for everybody, right? So square aspects have positive and negative effects, just like all aspects do. So we may be motivated and get pushed through our procrastination, or we may feel frustrated because something isn't going as quickly as we would like. February 10th, Venus enters Pisces. This is romantic. This is not a great year for Venus because she does retrograde later in the year. I mean, really late in the year, in October, November. But right now, while she's moving through Pisces, she is feeling romantic. She is everybody she looks at and she sees, she falls in love with. There's this cloud that goes over her. There's this, the rose-colored glasses is the perfect, description of Venus in Pisces. So be a little, just be aware. You find the love of your life, the soulmate you've been waiting for your whole life. Take your time. Take your time. There are some things going on for the last week in February, which I'll get to when we get to that. But in the meantime, it just feels wonderful and great and beautiful and compassionate and loving and kind. This is the energy of Venus in Pisces, so we can use it in many different ways. We can put those rose-colored glasses on and just filter the world so it doesn't seem so harsh and rough. And we can also find the compassion and that love and those soft edges. Not soft edges, but the softness within our own souls and our own selves. It's a great opportunity for the next 3 or 4 weeks with Venus, 3 weeks or so with Venus in Pisces, where we can really connect to our higher selves and our spirit and the things that we think are beautiful, and art and music and all of these beautiful spiritual things, and really connect with that for ourselves in our own lives. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the new moon eclipse that we have on February 15th. Now, pardon me, this eclipse is the mate to the Great American Eclipse of August 21st, where we could all see what was going on with that beautiful eclipse and everything, you know, but a lot changed because we all know, well, maybe we don't, but wherever the path of the eclipse tends to fall, the shadow of the eclipse tends to fall in the world, is where there tends to be a bit of uproar or change. And in the country, we certainly had an awful lot of weather, bad weather after that, especially heavy duty in the fall. This eclipse on February 15th is not seen here in this country. I actually haven't looked up where it is. Maybe you can tell me. But so we don't have to be overly concerned with that. But I want you to look back to August 21st and see what may have shifted for you. Because new moons, we set goals, and a new moon, it takes time for it to manifest. So when we want to set goals with these new moons, always, because every new moon starts a new 3-year lunar cycle. And so from new moon to first quarter to full to third quarter back to the new moon again. That whole cycle takes 3 years, 9 months in each section. This is, I got this information, I studied this with Dietrech Pessin last year, and it was a beautiful recognition. I had never seen this cycle before. So just know that every new moon, and then eclipses, of course, have their own cycles, but this new moon is important. And I was talking with a client the other day, and she knows a little astrology, and she's like, I didn't feel anything in August 21st, and it was right on her sun. Her sun is like 28 Leo, and we were talking about the one coming up here for February 15th, and so I talked with her a little bit about what was going on in her life and over the last 6 months, and the things that she told me were so profound, and she didn't see it that way. Because sometimes we have our own blind spot, you know, where it's not easy for us to see, especially if we have quincunxes in our charts. You know, we tend to have a lot of blind spots. And she has a big blind spot when it comes to the subject matter that her and I were discussing. Of course, it's private. I can't get into the details, but I just want you to know, even if you don't feel there was like this massive big shift for you, of course, there didn't have to be, but talk to somebody or talk to your friends and just say, the ones who really know you, how have things shifted for me since August? And see if you can get, you know, insight from others if you're not feeling that shift, because these things are so important for us to recognize, because as soon as we recognize that we've actually gone through something or there is a big change, it's just a moment of like, oh my God, thank you. I finally understand something about myself. And this is the beauty of having astrology sessions too. So whoever you have them with, you know, I think I tend to hear more than anything. It's like, I really knew that. Thank you for confirming it. I think that's the number one response I get from, excuse me, doing sessions with people. So the point of that whole thing is like with this eclipse for February 15th, it is connected to August 21st. So recognize, if you can, what has made a major shift for you. And with that new moon in Aquarius, it is all about getting into that cutting edge, feeling different, and feeling like you have a change coming, a shift coming. This is so important for us to recognize, because that Aquarian energy is the age of Aquarius. It's not, I can't say when that really began, who actually really knows, but it's that energy right into something new. Let's step into these new things. And that's what we have, you know, that's just a good example, a living example of what the eclipses can do for us, okay? So take that deep look in, take off the blinders, or talk to those folks who know you best and see how you have gone through a shift. And that might even help you with how you can set goals around this eclipse on February 15th. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the sun moving into the sign of Pisces on February 18th. This is wonderful. You know, when the sun comes out and it's foggy in the morning and the sun comes out, the fog sort of lifts. So if you're not a Pisces, for the rest of us, just that means the sun is illuminating that Pisces area in our charts. And so the areas where we may have felt foggy or unsure or not able to see a clear path, that may shift for us during the month that the sun is in the sign of Pisces. And again, kind of like what I said with Venus in Pisces, when the sun is there, we can connect more to our higher selves, take that individual, but just, you know, move it into the realm of the good for the all, compassion for all, humanitarian efforts for all. That's really Aquarian, but it also steps into those Piscean areas too, because we're willing to fight for what's good for everybody. What else do I want to say about this? Knowing no boundaries. The one thing I love about my Pisces friends, well, sometimes they're hard to keep reined in, you know, because they're all over the place. Other times their spirit is just like so amazing that they don't see problems very often. They don't see the limitations that a lot of other zodiac sign people will see. So I love the fact that they're limitless and boundless. But sometimes you got to like get a lasso and just like reel them in. It's like, what are you talking about? But other times it's just like there's such a beautiful living example of knowing no boundaries and just going for whatever it is that you want. So that's a piece of what the sun moving through the sign of Pisces starting February 18th is all about. Stepping into your own self, stepping into, even if you're not a Pisces, just taking those chances once in a while where it's just like, screw this, I'm going for it, right? And that's what we can do while the sun is moving through the sign of Pisces. All right, so let's finish up with that last week of February. So this is the things that we have going on throughout this whole week, the 21st, all the way through the 28th. So we have Mercury and Venus both in Pisces. So Mercury is only like 4 days behind Venus. It's approximate. So Venus on the 21st connects with Neptune. That's just the big romantic day of the year, right? Because it's just all about romance and love, and it doesn't matter how much of rough edges are going on around you. It's a day where we can really feel that love and compassion for others, for ourselves, and just fall in love with somebody that we're with. Mercury, a few days later, connects with that too, right? So it's all about misunderstandings and not really hearing the truth, only hearing what we want to hear, because it's just about, don't, in a way, here's a phrase, don't harsh my buzz, right? So it's just about being in the clouds, enjoying life and feeling great. But you know what? Both of these planets are going to make a square to Mars in Sag. Mars in Sag is telling us the truth, and it's a lot of fire, and this fire energy, it's mutable, but it's fire, and it can really kind of dissipate the clouds that we're living in, that romantic illusion cloud that we're living in. So that whole last week of February there's a little bit of back and forth. So do your best to stay in that compassionate, loving place. If you're falling in love with somebody, fall in love. If you're falling in love with something, fall in love with something. Read a romance book. Get all your fluffy pillows. Have more than one glass of wine. Just really connect with those softer pieces that last week of February. Just get into the illusion of the world. And then, you still have responsibilities. Mars is going to certainly make sure that we stay in a little bit grounded. Even though it's fiery, we're going to stay a little bit grounded with that, because it is motivating. So we may have these beautiful, here's another thing too that I could come up with this, with all this Pisces energy going on between Mercury, Venus, and Neptune. That's dreamland too, and having a dream, a long time dream, or dreaming at night. And so we can wake up in the morning or wake out of an illusion or a dream. And that Mars in Sag, with both of these planets are squaring it this week, can give us the motivation to actually take a dream into reality and start taking the steps towards what it is that we want and love. All right. Thank you very much. I haven't been doing monthly forecasts for a while, so I'm just getting back into them. And thank you. What else do I want to say? Come to my website, nhastrologer.com, and I will see you soon. Blessings. Namaste.